Hello, today we are going to talk about how to speak English fluently. First thing first, immerse yourself in the language. What is immerse? Immerse, imagine there's a pool and you're jumping into the pool. What happens? You become completely wet. So imagine the pool is English. You have to jump into the English. Okay? So you need to surround yourself with English as much as possible. As much as possible. I always say, students come to me and say, teacher, I love English and English is my, hobby. I say that is really nice, but that is not enough. Hobby is the first step, I always say. Hobby is first. Second is lifestyle. You have to change, let's say transform the concept of hobby into a lifestyle. What does it mean? It means that you need to think in English, listen to English songs, write in English, speak in English. Everything around you should be in English. So one of the biggest things that you can do is change the language of your telephone into English. Change the language of all of the social media accounts that you have into English. This is the first step. For example, it says here, surround yourself with English as much as possible. For example, watch movies, TV shows, and listen to music or podcasts in English. This is what I said. So everything around you should be in English. That's it. Read books, articles, or news in English to expose yourself to different vocabulary and sentence structure. Expose. How can you be exposed to something? If you see something a lot, we can say that you have been exposed to that thing. Okay? Imagine all the time you are listening to music. What happens? You're exposed to English music. Imagine you're all the time reading a book. What happens? After a while, we can say that you have been exposed to books. Next, practice regularly. What does it mean? It means you need to have a system and you have to stick with it. Which means that, imagine you want to spare your time on learning English every week. Let's say only once a week you have free time so that you can spend your time on English. Let's say on Saturday or Sunday, let's say. Okay? Every Sunday, you need to practice it. You need to deal with it. This is regular. It doesn't mean that you have to start English today and 2 weeks later, then you can start it again. Then 3 weeks later, then you can continue. This is not regular. This is not a system. Consistency is key. Consistency. Consistency is a great word. I can talk about it for hours. If you have a goal, you have to fight for it. Consistent. Do it again and again. Every week. Every week, but every week. Don't make any excuses. Oh, today there is a birthday party. Oh, tomorrow there's going to be a kind of wedding party. I don't care. You mustn't care also. So, be consistent. Set aside time each day to practice English. Set aside means spare it. Okay? Whether it's speaking, listening, reading, or writing, this is really important. Oh, teacher, I really want to speak English very fast or, very fluently. Okay, cool. But if you only practice your speaking, you can go nowhere, guys. You need to focus on all of the elements. Let's say you need to focus on 4 different skills of a language, which is English, so to speak. So if you want to be fluent in English, let's say, focus on listening, reading, writing, and also, of course, speaking. Use language learning apps, online resources, or language exchange platforms to practice with native speakers. Good point, of course. I say, guys, you are lucky today. All of us are lucky today because we live in 21st century. Everything is in our hands. Everything is under our control. We have fast internet, we have fast telephones, computers, everything. Today, we are so lucky. What do I mean by that? I mean that it is easy to find platforms, applications, or some other, WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, but you need to want it. If you don't want it, you can go nowhere. Speak with native speakers. Why native speakers? Because English is their mother language. If you want to learn English as if you're a native speaker, you have to communicate with them. If you have a chance to go abroad, if you have a chance to travel to English-speaking countries, in that case, you're so lucky because you would have lots of chances to find native speakers in order to speak with them, in order to, how can I say, get the language as it is. If you just study course books, yeah, they are English, of course, but the practical language of a society is different. Not 100%, but it is different. If you go to America, you would see, oh, I have learned lots of idioms, but people are using them differently, or people use different idioms, let's say. What happens then? So speaking to native speakers can be so useful and beneficial. It says here, engage in conversations with native English speakers. This could be through language exchange meetups, online language exchange platforms, or even finding language exchange partners in your local community. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you have to find native speaker in your hometown or in your country. No, we have internet today, a very powerful tool today. What happens if you have a chance to find any online English speaker? Just grasp them, just catch them, and try to use every single opportunity in order to talk to them. It says, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Learning from your errors is an essential part of the process. Absolutely correct. Absolutely. Don't be perfectionist. If you are a perfectionist person, you are so vulnerable to commit lots of mistakes, let alone mistakes, but errors. Mistake is something acceptable. Everybody can make mistakes. I make lots of mistakes every day. But you should put a kind of stop in front of those mistakes, and you need to avoid converting mistakes into errors. Why? Because if you make a mistake, you understand it, you are conscious, you are aware of that, which means that you can correct it. But if you are making errors, let's say committing errors, you are unaware of that. In that case, eliminating those errors is tremendously difficult. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. But it doesn't mean that you must make mistakes. No, it means that if you, by any chance, make any mistakes, that's okay. Continue and go forward. Take English classes. Of course, very cliche. Consider enrolling in English classes either online or at a language school. This can provide structured learning and guidance from experienced teachers. Of course. I mean, language courses can help you regain your confidence. I mean, self-confidence. This is the first thing. Second thing is you are going to learn some structured and systematic English. Third, you are going to have the chance to communicate with others, specifically with your teachers or with your other classmates, which can bring lots of opportunities to express yourself in front of them or in front of your teacher. So you need a kind of motivation or a kind of push in order to go forward. Join language exchange programs or conversation clubs where you can practice speaking with others. Of course, as I said, if you can find it physically, I mean physical classroom, that's cool. If you cannot find it, I'm pretty sure you can find it online. Use technology. Perfect. Use language learning apps that focus on speaking and listening skills. Absolutely. Speaking and listening go in parallel, okay? You cannot detach them. They need each other. They complete each other. So, listening is absolutely important. Absolutely important. Listen a lot and try to learn and then implement your learnings in your speaking. This is the only thing that I can tell. Take advantage of online platforms and resources such as YouTube channels, podcasts, and language learning websites. Absolutely. YouTube is a free resource. Why not? We can use it. Of course. You can use it. Everybody is using it. So podcasts and language learning websites or platforms that I am going to introduce them in other videos. Of course. Why not? Expand your vocabulary. Expand. Make it bigger. Okay? Don't be limited. Expand means not limited. I mean, make your vocabulary go bigger and bigger. Learn new words regularly and try to use them in your conversations. Absolutely. Whatever resources you are using, of course you are learning something. And if you learn something, try to use those vocabulary on purpose or intentionally in your conversations, in your sentences. Use flashcards or vocabulary apps to reinforce your memory. Do you remember flashcards? You don't need physical ones. You can use Quizlet.com and create your own flashcards. Okay? And of course, vocabulary apps, one of them, as I mentioned, to reinforce your memory. It means that to make your memory stronger and powerful. Understand? Pay attention to pronunciation. Absolutely. Your pronunciation is the key to be understandable, even by native speakers. If you cannot pronounce the words correctly, something is missing. You have to improve it. Pay attention to the pronunciation of words and practice speaking them correctly. This is really important, absolutely important. Mimic native speakers and use resources like pronunciation guides or language learning apps that focus on pronunciation. Mimic them. Try to follow. In easy words, it means that whatever you are hearing, just repeat it. Like a parrot. Whatever you are hearing, just repeat. Hear, repeat. Listen carefully, hear it, grasp it, comprehend it, and repeat it. Think in English. Think in English. In order to use a new language correctly, you need to think as those native speakers of that language. Why? Because in most of the time, because you are trying to translate words from your mother language into English, or even sentences from your mother language into English, most of the time it doesn't work. So you need to be like an English speaker person, which means that you have to think in English, not in your language, in your mother language, I mean. Try to think in English rather than translating from your native language. This helps in forming more natural sentences, absolutely. But how can you think in English? This is really a good question. How can you think in English? You need to watch reality shows, TV programs. You need to basically live in that country. You need to have a kind of friend from that specific country. Why? Because through culture, you're going to learn a lot and you can understand that, oh my goodness, those people of that specific English-speaking country are trying to think like this. So what if I think like them? You're basically able to think in English. Next important point is write in English. Most of the students who are learning English are basically neglecting it. Guys, do not neglect writing in English. This is absolutely important. Why? Because I always say writing and speaking are so close to each other because both of them are productive concepts, which means that you are producing language through speaking or through writing. Both of the messages are yours. So in writing, you have more time to think about the question in order to say it, but you are not physically saying it, but basically writing it. Understand? Really important. Keep a journal in English. A good point. Yeah, if you have a journal, you can write a daily, things or problems or, any kind of report around you in a day. So this can help improve your writing skills and reinforce vocabulary. But more importantly, you need to find somebody to correct your writing. Otherwise, you are not going to be aware of your mistakes or even your errors. That's really risky and really dangerous. You have to find someone to help you in your writing. Be patient and persistent. Persistent means to have a sheer will. What is sheer will? Sheer will means you say, I want it, so I will get it. I want it, I will get it. So you need to want it in order to get it. If you want to speak fluently, you need to want it, work hard for it, struggle, and then finally, surely, you will get it. Language learning takes time, and progress may not always be linear. What is linear? Linear means straight. It is fluctuating. It doesn't have a specific direction, not all the time. Sometimes it is straight, yeah, but most of the time, it is not. So it is so meandering. There is no specific direction in that, which means that you need to be patient and try to learn from whatever your resources are. Be patient with yourself and celebrate small victories along the way. Yeah, victory, just celebrate it. Be happy. Buy yourself a bar of chocolate. That's okay, no problem. Or travel somewhere. Buy yourself something. Treat yourself, in other words. Why? Because you need motivation. You have to motivate yourself. Intrinsic motivation, the motivation which comes from your inside. For example, you set a goal for yourself. You say that in 1 week, I need to learn 50 new vocabulary. A week later, if you achieved your goal, so you won. What happens? This is called a victory. In that scenario, buy yourself something. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. Remember, fluency is a gradual process. Gradual means slow. Step by step, slowly. Okay? And the key is consistent practice and exposure to the language in various forms. Be patient, practice a lot, and be exposed to English scenarios, to English resources. I hope this video was useful for you guys. Until next time, live long and prosper. Take care.